It's the 1970s, and things are about to get a whole lot more funky. Because people hate this map, and I'm here to tell you, the viewers, why you should give it a chance, or at least try it once yourselves. Shaolin Shuffle is the second DLC map released in Infinite Warfare Zombies within the Continuum DLC, and I'm gonna be honest, people really didn't like this map. I think it's because it was too complicated with its design. As I've said in my previous videos, when it comes to playing zombie maps, no matter how complicated it is, no matter how much you play the map, over time, you're gonna know it like the back of your hand. Especially in a zombies game where all you do as the player is run around the map, and especially for the new maps, you don't know where you're gonna go, but after a certain amount of time, you're just gonna know it off the top of your heart. This map was the straw that broke the camel's back for most people. After this map released, people just gave up with Infinite Warfare Zombies, which is why I'm here to say you should at least give it one more chance or play it if you haven't already. This is one of the more challenging maps, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, when you're playing zombies, naturally through most of the maps, the players are going to get better over time. It's like that with any game you're playing. When you first started playing Dark Souls, people aren't just cannons flying through the game. They're going to be dying over and over again, understanding the patterns of the enemies, and over time you're going to be dying less and naturally progressing. That might be a weird comparison to make, but I just thought I'd give an example because with maps like Shaolin Shuffle or other hard maps like Blood of the Dead, people are going to die a lot faster in the beginning because these maps are pretty complicated and more difficult. Also, if you haven't played Dark Souls, you gotta give it a try. That game's a freaking masterpiece. And why Sony hasn't remastered Bloodborne yet on the PS5 is beyond me. We're still stuck at 30 frames per second, but it is what it is. Not to get lost in the sauce. In this video essay, we're going to be taking a deep dive into Shaolin Shuffle, talking about its history with the Easter eggs and all the things that this map has to offer to the player. So grab your popcorn, grab your Donkey Kong plush, grab your eggnog, and let's get right into the most hated map in Infinite Warfare Zombies, Shaolin Shuffle.
There is a world of ancient evil, a ceaseless underground overrun by vermin and pestilence. They call it New York. To clean up the streets, they're fighting dirty.
If this is the Big Apple, it is rotten to the core.
They've got the mojo to save the dojo.
Yeah, the kitty cat in the dojo might have some words of wisdom.
Shall we begin?
I got that kung fu feeling flowing through me. Woo!
Electrifying. Clean up on the dance floor.
Vermin to kill, blood to spill. No time to chill.
Here I come, baby.
Damn, man!
Post-edit Dougie in the pajamas, I just thought I'd say that. I thought that trailer was epic as fuck. I thought that was super cool. The theme of this map after our characters leave Raven the Redwoods is the 70s, and the setting and areas of this map are definitely one of my personal favorites to run around and stare at. I think the dance floor is one of the more iconic parts of the map due to its flashing colors and extreme amount of party decorations laying around. But even the subway station on both sides and the theater where you go to Pack-a-Punch is extremely fitting to the time era of the 70s, the way that they designed and created the looks and aesthetics for this map. Now, some might disagree and say that they should have gone more over the top, but I think for what we got with this map, it's definitely enough, and being in New York City, I find this map just does a damn good job with bringing the players to areas such as the sewers, where New York is known for the rat infestation problems, to the rooftops where you can look out at the map and see so much more, getting a more broad and wider aspect of where you need to go. Even with some of the color palettes of this map being grimy, gray, and that desaturated color helps emphasize that this city is worn out and people used to come here all the time. A weird comparison to the colors is the backrooms. It's something that people are familiar with when it comes to the design and look of something, but have not actually been there before, which is quite interesting to think about. Did Infinity Ward try to go for this intentionally? I mean, I don't know. But the theme this map is going for is by bringing our characters to the 70s, which is very interesting. And as always with our characters, they have a new look and design when being brought into this time era. New melee animations and voice lines, which are more direct to being in the 70s, which is something they also changed throughout the maps for their time era. This is just something I love about Infinity Ward when playing one map after another. It's just that breath of fresh air, and whenever I load into a map, I'm excited to see who I get to play as, to get their melee animation, which is something I just liked about Zombies in Spaceland and Raven the Redwoods. It's cool to get something different, and it's simple as well. It's like how people play Apex Legends for the loot crates to unlock a melee weapon, but this time it's actually free, and I don't need to spend hundreds of dollars unlocking something you're probably not going to use after a couple of years. We love microtransactions. Pamela Suzette Grier is an American actress and singer described by Quentin Tarantino as cinema's first female action star. She achieved fame in her starring roles in the string of 1970 action movies, blaxploitation movies, and women in prison films for American International Pictures and New World Pictures. Wiki article. Some of her more famous movies she is known for is Coffee, Bobby Brown, and Sheba Baby, and I personally have not watched any of these films that she debuted in, but if you have, let me know if they're good and if they're worth watching. I would definitely be interested to try them out if they're good. I'm also not a movie guy, but I'll give anything a chance if it's good. She is also the star in Shaolin Shuffle, playing as our guest character, and I really like her character in this map, being this wise mentor, helping guide the players to complete the Easter egg. She fits in the map perfectly well compared to the previous star, Kevin Smith, who I felt like did fit in the map in some way, but something was off, and maybe his character needed to be more fleshed out. It could have been better at the end of the day. That being said, Pam fits in this map perfectly well, helping our characters through the Easter egg, and even after you complete the Easter egg, like all the other guest characters, you can play as her, and her character is phenomenal to play as. If there is something I love about Infinity Ward Zombies, it's playing as these characters, and Pam is just another one of those that we need to use if we have her unlocked. Her character is funny, quirky, her melee is cool, and I just enjoy when I can play as someone else, especially for a map like Shaolin Shuffle where it's well deserved. This Easter egg is a tough one, and even for me, a zombie veteran player who has played the shit out of Infinite Warfare, this Easter egg still takes me down from time to time. With that being said, we're staying on the topic about Pam Grier. Her newest film that she was debuted in is called Pet Sematary Bloodlines, released in 2023, and maybe she's still going. Right now she's at the age of 75, which is crazy. I don't know if she's doing the movies herself or if she is supporting these movies like writing and directing, but 75 and still being a part of Hollywood acting is something else, man. But I mean, good for her. I respect the hustle. I don't know if she's releasing anything else around. I'm not really looking into the finer details of things, but as far as social media goes, she does have an Instagram and Facebook, so if anyone is interested to learn more about her, I will have it in the description down below. Shaolin Shuffle's main concept they added into the map was the chai tea. I don't know why I said chai tea. It's just a regular fighting style. I have no idea what I was thinking when I was saying that. Fighting styles you can choose and level up throughout the game. I feel as if for some people nowadays, they don't like that they have to restart this every time and be at level 1. Guess what? Back in my day, you die, you do everything over again. The player has 4 choices for what they can choose to upgrade, which is going to be the crane, the dragon, lion, and snake fighting style. Now, in concepts of the first level with the fighting style, this is just the base level using the melee action. Each fighting style has a separate melee animation. In this footage, I'm going to be showing off the lion fighting style first, and after you get enough melee kills, you unlock level 2, which is the shurikens. I'm not sure if any of these have infinite damage, by the way, but after you get enough shuriken kills, you're going to unlock the 3rd level, or 2nd level, I guess, which is going to be the black hole with the lion. The 2nd level is definitely interesting. It only kills about 5 or 6 zombies at a time, and as you can see in my counter in the top left corner, it's only taking about 5 zombies, which is okay at best, but for how much it's consuming for your fighting style, it's definitely not worth it until you unlock the final level, which does big damage. And as you can see in the footage, it kills everything in front of me, which is extremely cool, and I definitely recommend this one over the others. If there's one I don't recommend, it's the snake, and I'm going to be showing you why after. It's so bad. It's so bad. The crane fighting style animations, or the base level, is definitely one of my favorites out of the 4 fighting styles. It's definitely one of the most unique in my opinion. I just find it really interesting. I don't know, maybe it's because Pam is using the dogs in this footage. Just like the other fighting styles, when you upgrade it to the shurikens, it's going to be the same as before. You charge it up, it kills about 3 zombies at a time if you get them fully charged. The second level of the crane fighting style is going to be freezing the zombies. Now, I'm not sure if it's going to be the same as the trailer where you can freeze the zombies and then hit them with the base melee animation to explode them all. But even then, it only freezes 4 or 5 at a time, and they explode anyways on their own. And on the third level of the crane, this one's kind of crazy. It lunges the players forward. I assume it does infinite damage as well, but this one is actually game breaking, and I'm going to be showing some footage as well of glitches you can perform with the crane fighting style. People use the crane fighting style so they can collect keys. Basically, you unlock the final level, you manage to get into a glitch spot with it, you go AFK, and the zombies just keep on dying. People get to like around 100 plus with this method. It's actually kind of insane. The third fighting style is going to be the dragon, and this one I think is also just one of the cooler ones that I like picking from time to time. With the first level being upgraded, you can see it's the shurikens again. Same as before, nothing has changed between all these fighting styles and upgrading it to the first level. The second level for the dragon fighting style is very similar to the crane, freezing the zombies in place and then they explode, which is an interesting decision from Infinity Ward. Third level, you can summon this insane golden dragon around your character, and it lasts for a pretty long time. Personally, I think this is the better final upgrade for all the fighting styles because it just lasts for so long. This one is definitely a must pick, and for players that are new as well, easier when you have that final level. It's safer. So if you prefer a more defensive fighting style, this is the one that I would pick. With the final fighting style being the snake, skipping past the shuriken and the second level, if you look at the third level where you can summon a zombie to kill other zombies, past round 20, this is terrible. My guy was getting so messed up in the hordes of zombies, he wasn't even able to kill one at a time. He would spawn in and then leave the world. He would get bombarded so quickly. The last upgrade to the snake is not too bad, honestly. You can see the animation. It's kind of funny, it's kind of goofy, but it's still an infinite damage, assuming final ability that you can unlock for the player. If you don't mind going through the hassle of dealing with your zombie friend, slowly killing the other zombies to upgrade to the final one, then I say go for this. But for all the other fighting styles, I would definitely choose them over the snake. The snake is definitely the worst one if I were to put it in a tier list. The layout of Shaolin Shuffle is definitely more complicated than the previous Infinite Warfare zombie maps that have been released. If we're going to talk about zombies in Spaceland, you can see it branches out into 3 separate areas, which is pretty easy for the players to guide themselves and navigate to where they want to go. If I want to go to the Kepler system, I understand that I need to go to the right side of the map. If I need to go to Polar Peak, it's straight on, and even the left and right side of the maps both lead to Polar Peak. If I were to hypothetically go there, it's really easy to navigate around Zombie in Spaceland. And then with Raven the Redwoods, you can see that you start in the main hub of the map. I made a video about this as well, which you guys can watch, link in the description below. Shaolin Shuffle is just interesting with its layout. You start on one side of the subway station, and the players, when they leave the starting area, get put in front of the dojo. And from here, you can branch out into either the rooftop, which leads to Deadeye Dewdrops, or if you decided to go the other way, you would immediately head towards the dance floor. This direction is usually something that the players do not choose, from what I've seen at least online. But as you can see in this gameplay here of walking around the map, it can definitely be confusing for sure, especially with assets looking similar, multiple paths, a lot of shortcuts to go through, and with these shortcuts as well, you need to use the fighting style to unlock them and open them up. But that being said, this map really isn't too bad in comparison to other maps. I'm gonna use Blood of the Dead as an example. I think Blood of the Dead is confusing, but as I said at the beginning of the video, the more you play a map, the more you're gonna understand its layout. And Shaolin Shuffle, once you really understand this map to a T, it's amazing, and just, you can get around super fast using the shortcuts, the teleporting doors. Maybe you want to go through the sewers to head from one side of the map to another right quick. This map leaves the players a lot of options to navigate around, and I think that's fantastic. It's definitely something that people such as bigger zombie YouTubers don't give the map enough credit for. Shaolin Shuffle really is not that bad as a map. Yes, don't get me wrong, the first step of the Easter egg can make the map seem really tedious, take a long time to navigate around, which I will be explaining later on in the video. But the layout, in my opinion, is just not as bad as other maps that we've previously seen. I think Raven the Redwoods isn't as well designed as Shaolin Shuffle, and I think that's because the developers understood that having a main hub as your map that branches out into the other sections, and even like the shortcuts being from the main hub going to the other sections, that's not really a well-designed map, because, well, if I'm over in the recreational area in Raven the Redwoods, how am I supposed to get somewhere else really quick. In Shaolin Shuffle, there are shortcuts upon shortcuts and ways to just move around and navigate. It leaves players with a lot of options that the previous map, Raven the Redwoods, did not provide to the players. Pack-a-Punch in Shaolin Shuffle is way easier than it was before, at least in Zombies in Spaceland, or even the Redwoods. It's really easy as well. In Shaolin Shuffle, to unlock Pack-a-Punch, you need to find a flyer on the ground, which can spawn in several locations. I say watch a Mr. Raffle Waffles video if you want to know how to do this yourself. You need to get a token, which is located under, not Pack-a-Punch, what am I talking about? Juggernog, which will be here every time you spawn into the map. This is just a static location. And the film reel, which is found in several locations. As I said, watch Mr. Raffle Waffles or something. I'm not going to tell you where these are. And then once you make your way into the theater, you can see that you can unlock the door, unlock a second door, and throw in the film reel to unlock Pack-a-Punch. Now inside the Pack-a-Punch area, you're going to see a button on the wall that you can press, and if you have the shortcuts unlocked and you go through them right after you press this button, you're going to see that the double Pack-a-Punch alien fuses are available to get picked up. You have to do this really fast or else they close. And all you have to do is place it on the train tracks, let it run it over, and then there you go. You have double Pack-a-Punch unlocked. You just throw it back into the machine, and it's as simple as that. Way easier than Zombies in Spaceland, where you had to complete the entire Easter egg. But I guess that was the point, and then in Raven the Redwoods, double Pack-a-Punch, it was just available. The Shaolin Shuffle Easter egg is not meant for those who are casual players, and even for people who are moderately into zombies and struggle with Easter eggs. I'm going to use Drak as an example, which is a kind of difficult Easter egg. Shaolin Shuffle is going to whip your ass. Even for me as a experienced zombie player, especially with Infinite Warfare Zombies, where I've played all the maps numerous amounts of times and completed them, Shaolin Shuffle really kicks my ass with this Easter egg. Unless I'm using Director's Cut and I have that leniency and head start, doing the Easter egg regularly with just a 500 points at the beginning of the game, and you have to collect all your perks, so on and so forth. It's difficult to properly get set up and complete this Easter egg due to the complicated steps, or even steps that just require some patience and really pushes the players to their limits. If you start off at the beginning of the Easter egg where you upgrade your chi style to tier 1, unlocking the shurikens, you're going to find multiple rat cages around the map, which you need to hit and then follow the mouse to the other rat cage. This one is just a patience game. It's not like it's difficult unless you're on a high round. You have a tons of zombies following you. This is something that's meant to do at the end of the round, and you just follow the mouse into his next location. After this is done, you're going to see a golden area that you need to kill zombies in. This isn't too bad as well, and once it's completed, you're going to pick up a key which unlocks a locker in one of the subway stations. It's the same every time, so it's not like you have to worry about that. And then after this, you need to shoot symbols on the wall, which I'm not sure how to really describe this, but as you can see in the video, these are the symbols that I'm shooting. Then after you complete shooting the symbols in the proper order, the Rat King will be available to fight right in front of the dojo where Pam is. And this is going to be the first of 3 fights you're going to have with the Rat King before you enter into the boss fight. This first one is pretty easy. He only has 1 or 2 attacks available, and his health is pretty low compared to his other fights that you will see later in the game. And after this is done, you're going to collect the Rat King's eye, which first of all, you need to talk to Pam Grier every time you collect one of the Rat King's body parts. Something I didn't remember when I was attempting this Easter egg again, so I was just running around the map and not seeing any symbols. But after you talk to Pam, symbols are going to spawn around the map one at a time, which you need to find using the eye. Every time you use the eye, a symbol is going to appear for about 5 seconds, and then you need to use the symbol again to make them reappear. And there are many locations. I think there's, off the top of my head, I want to say there's about 15 locations. They spawn one at a time throughout the map, and you need to find 6 or 7 in total. So think about that. For 15 locations, I have to go through the entire map to just find one. Once I find it, I need to skewer the whole map again to find the other, which, sure, if you know the layout and how to get around fast, this isn't too bad, but it is a patience game because, well, if I accidentally miss a location, I need to run around the whole map again to find it if it was at the location I missed or slipped my mind from. After you complete this step, you're going to see the phones in the subway stations are turning red, and one of them will be ringing. And then at this point, Infinity Ward decided to decipher Morse code, which is really interesting. And on screen here, you're going to see the images that I used to decipher my Morse code. Just to take a moment to explain, as you can see, I got 4 dots and a dash, which accumulates to the number 4, which leaves me with 2 options, so I just need to figure out my next number, and then I will know what poster I need to grab for the next step. This accumulates to the number 0, which means my number I need to find is 407. Once you figure out your 3 numbers, you're going to have to look at the posters on the wall and match up with them. I think if you collect the wrong poster or attempt to collect the wrong poster, you'll have to go to the phone again, and it's going to be 3 brand new numbers that you'll have to decode. But with that being said, once you find the correct poster, you bring it up to the light on the rooftop here, and you'll have to throw a grenade at this window, which will spawn a bunch of ninja zombies. After you kill all the ninja zombies on the rooftop, you're going to see that a letter is appearing on the wall. And here's another image of words that could possibly be what you're trying to find. And here is a second image of characters that you need to decipher into actual alphabet characters. And you'll see what I mean when I talk about this through my gameplay, is that I'm taking the time to look at my sheet, compare the letters, and then find what word I'm trying to decipher. And the thing that's really annoying about this is that every time that the word starts over again, it only starts with 1 letter. And for A, I think there's like 5 different words you can choose from, which is really annoying. So I'm just taking a shot in the dark, I guess, because sometimes you'll have 2 characters that could be your word, but only 1 word is chosen that it wants the player to spell out. So this step can be really annoying, but it allows you to attempt it at least 5 times before you need to start the next round and do it over again. After this step is completed, the players can go in front of the theater and fight the Rat King for a second time. And this is where I recommend the players get set up properly, because as you can see in the footage, the Rat King whips my ass not once, not twice, but 3 times, and I'm not even at the proper boss fight yet. After the rat is defeated the second time, you're going to be collecting his brain. Bringing this to Pam Grier, you're going to see a symbol flashing on the top right of your screen, and basically with this step, after 2 rounds, the game hypothetically glitches out and spawns you into a part of the map, which is near the beginning. It's literally right in front of the dojo again, and you need to kill the 5 or 6 zombies that are hoarding you. And after you defeat them, you're going to see a dial and bring it to the spawn subway station area. As you can see in the footage here, it's spinning a couple times, and that is that step. After this step is completed, you're going to have to go climb this ladder, and then you're going to see a symbol that the players can shoot, which will activate a ring on the ground. There's going to be multiple rings that the players need to kill the zombies in, and then after you complete this step, you need to go into the dance floor area, press the DJ's kit on the 2nd floor, and you're going to see a zombie spawn in the middle of the dance floor with a disco over his head. And this step is so freaking hard. It's called the disco hot potato step, and basically you need to kill the zombie who has the disco on his head while another zombie is on the dance floor so it can transfer over. And you need to do this about 12 to 15 times to complete this step. And in the footage here, it's difficult. I've went down a couple times, and for someone who's experienced with this Easter egg, this step is still very, very tough. After this step is completed, then you can fight the Rat King for the 3rd time, which is going to be in front of the theater. You fight the Rat King for the 3rd time, take him down, and then the players collect his heart, and this is where you talk to Pam for the last time before you go fight the Rat King. This Easter egg is tough. And if you do enjoy a good challenge, I really recommend this Easter egg because it is fun. I have a lot of fun attempting this Easter egg. It's difficult, it's complicated, there's a bit of RNG, which I personally enjoy. I know some players don't like RNG, especially when it comes to writing out the words, because you can have the same word with different letters that you need to spell out. It gets really annoying from time to time, but I really recommend this Easter egg if you haven't done it before. It's so rewarding completing it and being able to unlock Pam. Maybe that's just me as a completionist. And speaking of Easter eggs, what about the side Easter eggs in Shaolin Shuffle? Shaolin Shuffle has a really interesting side Easter egg, and the video I'm going to be playing on the screen right now is from another user, which I recommend. Please check out their channel because I was not able to do this at the time. I already completed the side Easter egg, and you need to complete it at a specific time. The video does explain this, by the way, and as I said, I recommend checking them out. Please check them out because this side Easter egg is super cool. At the end, you get to see one of the developers and Infinity Ward on the Rat King's chair, and I think you unlock some lobby music. Another Easter egg the players can attempt is Skullbuster. This Ghost and Skulls is way easier than any of the previous Ghost and Skulls machines that we've had to deal with previously, like in Zombies Spaceland and Rave in the Redwoods. Rave was so hard. I don't even like thinking about Rave's Ghost and Skulls. It is so complicated. The Ghost and Skulls Easter egg in Shaolin Shuffle is very, very easy. The first step is literally just finding a cloth and some cleaner to clean the blood off of the machine, and leading into the second step is the players need to play this game on the rooftop. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it's a Japanese or some random kind of game. Basically, you need to find more of these domino-like objects around the map and create the best score for the player. I don't really understand how I completed it, but I understand that you need to collect numbers in pairs, and then you'll know it's completed because you'll see fireworks shooting above the dominoes. The third step for Ghosts and Skulls is you need to write out a couple of numbers on the windows, in specific windows. As you can see in the gameplay, I'm writing the number 1, and you need to complete these very fast once you start shooting at the window. As you can see with my second window where I need to write out the letter 9, I did this for 3 or 4 rounds in a row because I was too slow apparently, and on controller, this is quite difficult to do. It's probably way easier on PC using your mouse, but doing this on controller, you need to ramp up your sensitivity, or you just need to get good, because I think if you shoot the same panel twice in a row, it fails the step and you need to wait another round to try it again. But after this step is done, the players will now have the ability to jump on these glowing panels on the rooftop, and this step is so funny and just so difficult in its way. I had to get rid of racing stripes because I was going too fast jumping from one panel to another, and I needed to slow my character down. For as simple as this step is in Ghosts and Skulls, it's very difficult. And this is coming from someone who played games such as Super Meat Boy, I Want to Be the Guy. I know how to precisely jump from a platform, but maybe this is Call of Duty and the depth and perception a little different than those kind of games, obviously. This step looks really simple, but is quite difficult after the player manages to complete jumping through all of the spheres that are floating in the sky and collect the skull. The final step is to call the number which is on the Ghosts and Skulls machine. And that's it. It's as simple as that. Now you can play Skullbuster, and this one, very simple. It's not random. There is a predetermined way to complete the game, and as you can see, I make a mistake and one of these skulls lights up. So you just need to make a proper estimate of what color needs to go where so you can eliminate these skulls. And depending on how many players you have after 3 rounds, as you can see, I completed the game, and it's not like I got Perkaholic, because when I was doing this, I was using Director's Cut just so I can have an easier time and get this done a lot faster. But I recommend this to people who are playing regularly without Director's Cut and want to use a Perkaholic, because it's not as bad as the previous Ghosts and Skulls that I mentioned. Ghosts and Skulls 2, it's a nightmare. Ghosts and Skulls 1, I think that one's also a nightmare. It's tough. High rounds in Shaolin Shuffle is definitely not as easy as the previous maps. For starters, you now have zombie variants that are chasing after you, which Raven the Redwood and Zombies in Spaceland had, but they are basically just more beefy zombies compared to Shaolin Shuffle, which now has the ninja zombies, which can spawn in front of you or basically in the direction that you're running. And these guys take double the damage compared to regular zombies, so if you get hit 2 or 3 times, if you have Jug, you're going to be going down. As well as just needing to get set up properly, a good high round strategy is to complete the Easter egg and get the Rad Heart, have the sword completely upgraded, and also have one of your fighting styles fully upgraded just so you can have the highest level and deal infinite damage when the time comes around if you need to use that as a last resort. And also about the high rounds is that most people like to train in the sewers due to its naturally large size and open space. But as well as when the ninja zombies start spawning in, you don't need to run as fast. I know there's one gun that actually increases the speed of the player, but if you manage to get that gun and you have a faster walking speed, you can basically outrun the zombies that are sprinting at you while not having the ninja zombies spawn in front of you and screw you over, because that's usually what happens in Shaolin Shuffle, is the players are running around trying to kill the zombies, but when they have their backs turned as they were just sprinting forward and turned around, the ninja zombies spawn in front or behind them, which will screw them over, push them around, and get killed by the horde. The wonder weapon in Shaolin Shuffle is the sword, which you can upgrade twice, and after a couple swings, you swing it one more time and it will be shooting the dragon head. And this wonder weapon is just so cool. I'm going to be showing some gameplay footage of me doing my high rounds. I think I got to around 40, which isn't too bad. Since I haven't done high rounds in this map in a long while. But high rounds in Shaolin Shuffle, you definitely need to be more experienced with zombies, how to train, and just navigate around. And the setup is definitely more complicated, especially if you're not using Director's Cut and you don't have the 25k points to start off with. But other than that, I think that the high rounds for this map is really interesting, especially if you use the crane fighting style and you can glitch yourself not out of the map, but in parts of the map, where you can deal infinite damage for a extended amount of time. As I said, people get to around 100 plus doing this with the crane fighting style. It's insane how game breaking that is. But if you have Shaolin Shuffle and you haven't done high rounds, I definitely recommend giving it a chance. Throw on a podcast, throw on some videos, try your best. I mean, it's more complicated than Raven in the Redwoods and Zombies in Spaceland, which were available at the time, but it's worth it, and I think it's a fun challenge if you do enjoy to push yourself and become a better Zombies player. I think one of the many reasons that people don't like this map is due to the size of it and layout. As I mentioned before, with any map, you play it long enough, you're going to understand the layout like the back of your hand. I know I said this countless times already. People weren't really invested in Infinite Warfare Zombies, and when they got hit with this really challenging map full of tight corners, the Easter egg is complicated, it was like the straw that broke the camel's back. It was just too much at this point, and people just gave up and moved on to the next thing, which was Black Ops 3, which was still releasing DLCs at the time. It didn't help that zombie YouTubers, the more popular ones with millions of subscribers or hundreds of thousands of subscribers, were also shitting on the map, which leaves a bad taste in other people's mouths. And I spoke about this as well with Raven the Redwoods. When YouTubers who are very well known in the community talk about something poorly and don't make it seem as engaging, seem like it's not worth it for you to try, it leaves a bad taste for a lot of people who may have been interested, but now it's like, well, why would I want to try the map if it's has a really complicated Easter egg, the map is terrible, the gameplay is terrible, it has nothing to provide. Like, why would I want to try it if all these bigger YouTubers are also not interested? I think another factor is that Infinite Warfare just wasn't as popular as Black Ops 3 at the time, so YouTubers who hypothetically make their living off of YouTube, with Infinite Warfare, it's just not worth it. Or wasn't as worth it as Black Ops 3. Black Ops 3, it was booming. You had Gurad Krovi, that map was insane. Revelations was crazy, especially for the Easter egg hunt. I could just go on and on about that. Black Ops 3 was up here compared to Infinite Warfare, which was like down here. You couldn't even see Infinite Warfare. It was crazy. Everyone chose Black Ops 3, and it was the game to be played at the time because of the story that was ending. Did Shaolin deserve the hate though? I don't think it did. I think with every Infinite Warfare Zombies map, they're all equally as great in their own ways, but I don't think they deserve the hate that they originally got during the map's release. Shaolin Shuffle, people did not like this map, and I really don't understand why. I know when games are too challenging, it can really turn off players and make them go to something else. But in my opinion, it makes me want to push harder to become better so I can play the map. It's like, I'm going to use Dark Souls again. When people play Dark Souls for the first time, or Bloodborne, or whatever you're playing, let's say Elden Ring. Elden Ring's the newest game. When people play Elden Ring for the first time, and they come against the first boss after you leave the starting area, the horse, how many players actually beat the boss compared to how many players just gave up because it was too difficult? There's that balance where it's players who are wanting to push themselves and actually achieve something great to players who are like, well, I can't beat it and this game is just too difficult. You have to understand and learn the moveset of the boss to be able to beat the boss. Sometimes you'll have those moments where you just shred through a boss. For me, in Elden Ring, that was Radon. It took me 2 tries to beat Radon, where it took some people hours to kill him. But that being said, in Zombies, it's practice. And with a map like Shaolin Shuffle, you need to play the game over and over again to understand the layout, the zombies, how they work, the ninja zombies, how they spawn, how they teleport from one area to another where you're running. Zombies is a game about learning and understanding how the AI is either working around you, like in Black Ops 4. I swear in Black Ops 4, the AI for the zombies is just so out of whack compared to Black Ops 3. There's just a lot to learn with Shaolin Shuffle, which can turn a lot of players off, is what I'm trying to get at. The high rounds for this is definitely worth a try, and I recommend it for those who haven't tried it yet. This map did not deserve the hate it got from the zombie YouTubers, and as I've said before, if you have not tried this map, please give it a try, because it's well worth it, and it's worth the experience to learn and better yourself as a Zombies player if you want to try out these other maps and complete the Easter egg. After 7 years, I think it's still worth playing. It has the potential. It's fun. It's worth replaying over and over again. Shaolin Shuffle did not deserve the hate it got from big zombie YouTubers. I believe people don't like change, and when something is just so different from what they're used to, and Shaolin Shuffle really pushed that change and something different onto people with the fighting styles and the Easter egg. It really just made people have a bad taste in their mouth, and I think it's undeserved. Shaolin Shuffle pushed for something different, and I personally think it did it quite well. If you guys have different thoughts, please let me know in the comment section down below. I'm not going to go against anyone who has a different opinion than me and says, you know what, I think Shaolin Shuffle is bad. It definitely did deserve the hate. And that's totally fine if you think like that. I'm not going to argue against that. I just think Shaolin Shuffle isn't as bad as a lot of people say or originally said when the map first released. It does a lot of things well, and for things that people don't think the map did well, such as the design, the Easter egg, that's totally fine if you think like that. I love the Easter egg. I don't know why. I like when I have to do the Morse code, have to follow the rat, the spelling of the words. Like, I think it's fun. It's a good challenge. After so many years of Infinite Warfare Zombies being released, are people still giving this map a chance, or are they moving on? Well, it looks like people just don't even play Infinite Warfare Zombies, which is quite sad because I believe it's one of the better zombie games on top or right beside Black Ops 3. People bat their eye away from Infinite Warfare Zombies due to the bigger zombie YouTubers who shit on the map, which I strongly believe is the case. It didn't help that when Infinite Warfare released, it got a very poor negative reception at launch with its trailer being one of the most disliked YouTube trailers of all time. And as I said, just those bigger zombie YouTubers. You got Noah J456, Mr. T Lexify, The Smith Plays, you name it. Each and every big zombie YouTuber just didn't care about the release of the other maps. Sure, at the beginning there was like a little bit of hype where, oh, there's a new Easter egg, we gotta solve this, you know, first in the world is always exciting, don't get me wrong. But after that, where the Easter egg gets completed, the hype dies down. And people weren't really watching Infinite Warfare Zombies after the Easter egg was completed because there is no story. And as I mentioned with Raven the Redwoods, when there's no story for people to be invested to, why am I invested in your game? Because some people care about the story and only care about the story of characters. Why do you think people like Blood of the Dead not Blood of the Dead. Why do you think people like Mob of the Dead so much? Why do you think people like Black Ops 2 so much? Black Ops 3 so much? There's this story behind these characters. There's more to know. There's mysteries. There's things that haven't been solved. There's things that have been solved which leave people even more interested. With Infinite Warfare Zombies, with the characters going from one timeline to another, their characters themselves don't really develop, which Infinity Ward purposely intended for an easier experience for newcomers to follow along. But for people that like to invest themselves into something, this was a complete turnoff, and Shaolin Shuffle was just a final straw for people. So after so many years, are people invested in Infinite Warfare Zombies? Why would they? There's nothing to be invested in unless they just want to try the game themselves. It's just gameplay focused, which is completely different from story focused. Creators such as Mr. Raffle Waffles, sure, he has his plethora of tutorial videos, but he also has his plethora of storyline videos. The story is like half of his channel, I'd like to say. And for people who are interested in the zombie storyline, you've definitely seen Mr. Raffle Waffles talk about it. His interviews with Jason Blundell, these hidden Easter eggs. Even the Easter eggs that are like side Easter eggs or ciphers, they tell a story as well. It's things that you may not think about on the surface level, but deep underneath, there's a hidden meaning behind it. In Call of Duty Zombies, there's always a hidden meaning behind something. Even if it means nothing, there's probably something that gives it meaning. I think a fine example of this is the KN44 cube pictures that have been going around. And if any of you have been watching Glitching Queen, recently it was discovered that this was just an inside joke within the developers. And that's extremely interesting in itself, because look at the zombies community completely overthinking this picture into thinking it is something bigger and way more drastic, when in reality it's just nothing and it's just a gag. It's fantastic in a lot of ways. I'm sure it left a lot of zombie players who were invested in trying to find out what this picture meant, probably made them want to hit their head against the wall a couple times. With that being said, can this map redeem itself? I mean, with so many years down the line, and it's not like big YouTubers are playing this map, except when the 10-year mark is going to hit around the corner, where Infinite Warfare Zombies 10 years later, I don't think Shaolin Shuffle is going to make a comeback. I believe that this is one of the maps that it's just dead. And this map has the most to offer, which I find crazy, but people just really aren't a fan of change and challenge, especially when it comes to a game like Zombies. Sure, the challenge is in the Easter egg, but with this map, it's a challenging map in general, which is not very friendly to newcoming players. And even for veteran players, a lot of them just think there's too much to do, there's so much for me to think about, this Easter egg is completely bull. So in conclusion, I just don't think that this map has what it takes to make a comeback, which as I said, it's sad. I think that this map has the most to offer. You have the fighting styles, the Easter egg is great, the side Easter egg, skull buster, you have the sword, you have the nunchucks as well, by the way. There are nunchucks you can upgrade, but I just don't think it's gonna make it, and I just think that's quite sad. Which leads into the next chapter of where is the story Infinity Ward was trying to tell the players who were playing zombies. With 3 maps being released now in Infinite Warfare Zombies and being such little story to offer, the final line to be drawn for people to just give up on Infinite Warfare Zombies. There was nothing that they were offering with the story, and it's quite sad because there could have been a lot of interesting development with our main cast, with Willard Wyler, and you can see in Attack of the Radioactive Thing, they tried to expand on Willard Wyler's story, but I fear that at that time, it was too late. Not a lot of people played Attack. When you're in the 3rd DLC and now you're starting to expand the story, I think it's too late, man. Like, not a lot of people even buy DLCs or know that there's DLCs coming out, let alone that now there's a side Easter egg that tells me about the characters. I think Infinity Ward by that time was asking for too much and should have just focused on what they were naturally doing, which I think was great. Making these maps, creating a fun, atmospheric map that had tons to explore, great Easter eggs. But even in my Raven the Redwoods video, if there's no story to follow, then why am I following this game, this franchise? There's nothing for me to be invested in, so why am I even trying if I want to be invested in a story? Gameplay and story is something that just runs along with each other. People like being invested into characters. Look at God of War when it made the drastic change from God of War 3 to the PlayStation God of War game. Players were so mixed going from the Blades of Chaos to the Leviathan axe. Naturally, they loved the Leviathan axe because the gameplay was amazing, but the different pacing in storyline that Cory Barlog offered to the players was fantastic, and that game was a major hit because people loved the way Kratos was developing, and he had a son now, which was totally different from anything we've seen before. It was different, but it was a good change, and it had an amazing pace for people to follow along with. In Infinite Warfare Zombies, there's nothing to follow along with. There's no pacing for the story. There's just gameplay. And if people aren't vibing, which is a weird term, I don't like saying vibing, but if people aren't vibing with your gameplay, then what are they gonna do? They're just gonna close the game and never play it again. Black Ops 3, I felt like hit that mark of having a fantastic story and fantastic gameplay, along with all their maps being absolute masterpieces of their own. But at the end of the day, what do you guys think? What are your opinions about Shaolin Shuffle? Do you think that it deserved the hate, or do you think it deserves a second chance? After so many years, do you think it can be redeemed? Do you think that this map is just dead? I love Shaolin Shuffle, and I like to challenge myself from time to time, and Shaolin Shuffle just, it scratches that itch for me of, even though I'm a veteran zombie player, I can still get my ass put into the ground. which is nice. Like, I love improving, playing tough games that really give me a good challenge. I know earlier in the video when I mentioned Dark Souls of being a challenging game, you got to learn the enemy's pattern. Games like that where I can constantly improve and be better, I think are great. And Zombies for me gets a little bit too easy at times, but playing a map like Shaolin Shuffle, it just reignites that spark of, holy shit, like, I gotta get better at this game. I gotta get better at this map. How can I optimize my gameplay better? How can I optimize my movement? What am I missing here? Is there something, like, is there an element I'm missing? Is there something I'm not understanding? I like that about Shaolin Shuffle because it's hard. It makes me think more compared to zombie maps like Ascension, Der Eisendrache. I think Der Eisendrache is too easy as well. But as said, let me know your thoughts down below. And I appreciate you guys for watching this video. Thank you guys for making it to the end of this video. If you liked it, leave a like, subscribe. I have a lot of fun making these video essays, and clearly YouTube likes when I push out longer videos, which is really interesting. But we only have a couple more maps at this point. We have Zombies of Spaceland and The Beast from Beyond. And then we're done with the video essays for Infinite Warfare. But I still have a lot more coming your way. So stay tuned and stay awesome. I appreciate you guys. Thanks again.